Dear students, last class we were discussing about the alpha amino acids. So today we continue the amino acids and formation of peptide bond. Then properties of proteins, structure, denaturation and the importance of proteins. So all these will be completed today. First, the properties of amino acids. So last class we completed the classification of amino acids. Now what is a property? First, physical state of amino acid. Usually amino acids are colorless crystalline solids, right? Then amino acids are soluble in water. Then functional group in the amino acid. As we discussed yesterday, there are two functional group in the amino acids. One is carboxylic acid group. One is carboxylic acid group, another one is amino group. So amino group is attached with the alpha carbon, so this is called alpha amino acids. Next, what is isoelectric point? This is a 2 mark question, public 2 mark. What is isoelectric point? When we take amino acids, we have two functional groups. One is carboxylic acid, another one is amino group. At one particular pH, the amino acid molecule will exist as a neutral molecule. Neutral molecule will have what pH? 7. So if the pH is 7, the substance will be a neutral one. So at one particular pH, amino acid will be neutral. That pH is called isoelectric point. Isoelectric point is defined as the pH in which amino acid exists as a neutral molecule. If there is a change in the pH value, then nature of amino acid will also be changed. Right? So consider isoelectric point. Amino acid will exist as a neutral molecule. If the pH is more than the isoelectric point, you consider this situation. Now the pH is more than the isoelectric point. At isoelectric point, pH is 7, isn't it? Overall charge 0. So neutral molecule, for neutral molecule pH value is 7. So that pH is called isoelectric point. Now pH is increased, like value 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So all these are indicating what? The solution is becoming alkaline in nature. Right? So if pH is more than the isoelectric point, the solution is alkaline solution. Now what is the tendency of hydroxide ion? The hydroxide ion will have the tendency of absorbing a proton. Right? So hydroxide ion will absorb a proton. So it absorbs a proton from carboxylic acid functional group. So amino acid is becoming a negatively charged species. Right? So this is first point. To take amino acid. The amino acid is neutral at a particular pH. So the pH is called isoelectric point. At isoelectric point, overall charge of the amino acid is 0. The pH is 7, neutral. When pH is increased, like pH value 8, pH value 9, 10, 11, then solution is becoming alkaline in nature. So in alkaline medium, amino acid is existing as negatively charged species, right? Overall charge -1. So the pH is alkaline pH. Instead of that, if a pH is lower than the isoelectric point, if the pH value is less than isoelectric point, that means a pH value decreases. From 7 onwards, pH value decreases. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So it indicates the solution is becoming acidic in nature. Right? So pH value decreases. pH value is lower than the isoelectric point for amino acid. So acidic solution in which proton is attached with amino group. So in amino acid, we have functional group amine. So amino group is present. So that will have the tendency to make a bond with the proton. So in acidic solution, H is added with NH2 of amino acid. So it becomes a positively charged species. Amino acid gets a positive charge. Right? So this is the condition at which solution is acidic in nature. Right? So what is isoelectric point? The pH at which amino acid is a neutral one, overall charge is 0. If the pH value increases, solution becomes alkaline in nature, amino acid will get negative charge. If the pH is less than isoelectric point, the solution becomes acidic in nature. So amino acid will become a positively charged species. Next, another public one mark. What is Zwitter ion? Zwitter ion means, take amino acid. In amino acid we have carboxylic acid group and amino group. If there is a transfer of proton from one function group into another function group, now the molecule has two ions, two different ions, isn't it? If a proton H plus is moving from carboxylic acid function group into amino function group, we have obtained negative charge in carboxyl part, positive charge in amino part. So the amino acid molecule has both positive as well as negative charges. Now the amino acid is called Zwitter ion. It has amphoteric behavior. It has both positive as well as negative charge, so it has amphoteric behavior. Now the ion is called Zwitter ion. What about overall charge? Overall charge is 0. So both the ions present in the molecule, so 1 plus 1 minus, mutually cancel each other. Overall charge for this Zwitter ion is 0. Next, what is optical activity of amino acids? Except glycine, remaining amino acids are optically active in nature. Public one mark. So except this amino acid glycine, remaining amino acids are optically active in nature because at least one asymmetric carbon will be there. At least one chiral carbon will be there. But this glycine is optically inactive. This is the only amino acid which is optically inactive because it does not have chiral carbon, because carbon is bonded with same type of atom, 2 hydrogen atoms. So carbon has to be bonded with 4 different atoms or groups, then only it will be chiral or asymmetric carbon. So the glycine, the simplest amino acid, is not having the asymmetric or chiral carbon, so this is optically inactive in nature. Except this amino acid, the remaining amino acids are optically active in nature, so they will rotate plane polarized light in clockwise as well as anti-clockwise direction. Next, what is the configuration of amino acids? As we studied, for carbohydrates, 2 configurations are available, D and L. One more question. In living beings, L amino acids are common, right? So L amino acids are present in the living beings mostly, and this is very rare in certain living beings. D configuration amino acid is very rare in certain living beings, and this is very common in all living beings, right? Next, public 3 marker. What is peptide bond? Give an example. So peptide bond means a bond formed between the alpha amino acids. When 2 amino acids are combining, there will be a bond formed between the amino acids. We call it as peptide bond. For this peptide bond formation, carboxylic function group of first amino acid will combine with amino group of second amino acid. So this is the combination. What is the combination? Carboxylic acid function group of first amino acid is combining with the amino function group of second amino acid. There is a liberation of water molecule due to the combination of carboxylic function group and amino function group. One water molecule is leaving, so we have obtained an amide linkage, CONH, C double bond O, NH is what? Amide linkage. So this amide linkage is called peptide bond. Okay. So peptide bond is a amide linkage formed between the amino acids. The simplest example is glycyl alanine formation. So we take first amino acid glycine, second amino acid alanine. Due to amide linkage or peptide bond formation, we are getting a dipeptide, glycyl alanine. Okay, the peptide is called what? Glycyl alanine. Why we call this as a dipeptide? two amino acids join together to produce this molecule. So this is called a dipeptide. Then with this glycyl alanine, with this dipeptide, one more amino acid is attached by a peptide bond. Then the product will be called as tripeptide. Okay. So this is dipeptide. With this dipeptide, one more amino acid is bonded by a peptide bond. The product will be called as tripeptide. With the tripeptide, one more amino acid is bonded by a peptide linkage. The product will be called as tetrapeptide. So like that, it extends dipeptide, tripeptide, tetrapeptide, pentapeptide. Like that, it extends. So generally, we call them as polypeptides because in proteins, more number of amino acids are linked together by this peptide bond. So we have polypeptide chains, right? Not only 3 or 4. More number of amino acids are joined together by a peptide bond in proteins. So we call this as peptide chain. Okay. So glycyl alanine formation is explained. Next, what is N terminal? What is a C terminal in the peptide chain? N terminal means, so take a peptide, take a dipeptide. While writing the product dipeptide, amino group will be written in the left hand side, carboxylic acid will be written on the right hand side. Usually this will be the arrangement. When we write a di or tri or polypeptide, amino group will be present in the left hand side end, carboxylic acid group will be present in the right hand side end. So this amino group is called N terminal or amino terminal. This carboxylic acid group at the end of the chain is called C terminal or carboxy terminal. Okay. Next, what are the backbones of a polypeptide? Except the alkyl groups, remaining atoms in the chain are the backbones of polypeptide. So with this peptide bond formation over, next we move into the classification of proteins. So based on the structure, proteins are of two types, fibrous proteins and globular proteins. Fibrous proteins are a linear chain. So the polypeptide chain will be in what form? Linear arrangement, like a straight chain arrangement. So amino acids are linked together by peptide bond in a linear way. So we get a linear polypeptide chain. So this is called fibrous protein. So this will be looking like a fiber. So that this is called fibrous protein. Then in this fibrous protein, between the chains there will be a bridge or there will be a linkage or force of attraction. It's called a disulfide bridge. So when we take two polypeptide chains, between the polypeptide chains there will be what linking? The interaction or bridge or linkage will be disulfide bridge or else intermolecular hydrogen bonding. So one more question. So in fibrous protein, the polypeptide chains are linked by disulfide bridge or intermolecular hydrogen bonding, and this fibrous protein is insoluble in water. So this fibrous proteins are called as structural proteins. And example for fibrous proteins, keratin and collagen. So these two are common examples, right? So fibrous proteins are a linear polypeptide chains. They are insoluble in water. We call the fibrous proteins as structural proteins. Between the chains, we will have a disulfide bridge and intermolecular hydrogen bonding. Keratin and collagen are examples of fibrous proteins. Second type of protein is called a globular protein. Okay, so this is a spherical shape of a protein. So the polypeptide chain will not be in the form of a linear one. The polypeptide chain will fold together to form a spherical shape. So this is called a globular protein. Okay. So globular protein has spherical shape and mostly Globular proteins are used as catalysts. So enzymes are nothing but what? Proteins. So these enzymes are used as catalysts in biological reactions. Example for globular protein is myoglobin. With this, classification of protein is over. Next, very important 5-mark question. Explain the structure of protein. Right? So, in the structure of protein, this word will be repeated often. Residue. Residue means don't think that this is a precipitate. So here residue represents a sequence of amino acids. It means a polypeptide chain. How the amino acids are arranged to make a polypeptide chain. So the sequence of amino acids is called a residue here. So the polypeptide chain can be folded in a different way. Based on that, we have primary, secondary, tertiary and quaternary structures. So we have a hierarchical order. We are going to explain the primary, secondary, tertiary and quaternary structures. This hierarchical order will be explained now. First one, primary structure. Primary structure is the backbone. Okay, for the protein, primary structure is the backbone. So this is nothing but a polypeptide chain. So primary structure of protein is nothing but the backbone. This is a polypeptide chain. So amino acids are linked together by peptide bond. So they are forming a chain. So this polypeptide chain is called what? Primary structure. So in this example, we have how much amino acids? We have totally 6 amino acids. 6 amino acids are joining together to produce this polypeptide chain. GLY means glycine. MET means methionine. PHE phenylalanine. CYS cysteine. ARG arginine. ASP means aspartic acid. So totally 6 amino acids have combined together to produce this polypeptide chain. This is N terminal, this is C terminal. Usually polypeptide chain will be indicated as from N terminal to C terminal. This is called a primary structure. Next, what is secondary structure? So folding of primary structure will give you secondary structure, right? So when they are folding, you will get a secondary structure. The secondary structure is called a substructure. Okay. So between the chains or amino acids, we will have hydrogen bonding. So when a polypeptide chain is folding, right? So when we have substructure between the amino acids, hydrogen bonding is possible. So between the oxygen and the hydrogen, between the carbonyl oxygen of one amino acid and amino hydrogen of another amino acid. So between the two amino acids, there will be hydrogen bonding. Carbonyl oxygen of first amino acid, amino hydrogen of another amino acid, NH2. NH2 is what? Amino group. So hydrogen in the NH2 group will involve in bonding. So carbonyl oxygen of first amino acid, amino hydrogen of second amino acid will involve in hydrogen bonding. Usually, the folding of a primary structure will make two type of substructures. That means secondary structures. They are called alpha helix and beta sheet or beta strand. Okay, first we take alpha helix. So this is alpha helix structure, right? So this is a helical structure. So due to the folding of a primary structure, we have obtained this helical structure. This is a right-handed helical structure. So this secondary structure or substructure is what? A right-handed helical structure. So it's like a spiral. Okay. Next, as I said, in between the amino acids, there will be hydrogen bonding between the carbonyl oxygen of one amino acid and amino hydrogen of another amino acid. Usually between the first and the fifth amino acids. Usually the hydrogen bonding will be between the first and the fifth. So we call the first amino acid as nth amino acid. We take this one. So hydrogen bonding will be between nth and n plus 4. That means what? First amino acid is called nth and the fifth amino acid is called n plus 4th. So 1 plus 4 is nothing but what? 5. So between the first and the fifth amino acids, there will be hydrogen bonding in the helical structure. So first amino acid is considered as nth. Then fifth one is nothing but what? N plus 4. Instead of n, if you substitute 1, you will get number 5. So this is right-handed helical or spiral structure of protein. So this is secondary structure. Hydrogen bonding is exists between the amino acids, between the N and the N plus 4th residue. So this picture explains the formation of helical structure. This is the primary structure of amino acid. Amino acids are combining together to produce a polypeptide chain. Then the polypeptide chain, that means primary structure is folding to form alpha helix structure. So alpha helix is a spiral or right-handed helical structure. Hydrogen bond exists between N and the N plus 4th residue. Then in alpha helix, the side chain of the residue, the side chain of the polypeptide chain will pointing towards outside. So we can observe this. So these are all what? Side chains. Side chain, alkyl group. Side chains of the residue will protrude outside the helical structure. That means they are pointing outside the helical structure. Right? So for each helical turn, in alpha helix, for each helical turn, there will be 3.6 residue, and the length of this 3.6 residue is 5.4 angstrom. This is one more question. For each helical turn in the secondary structure of alpha helix, 3.6 residue will be there, and its length is 5.4 angstrom. Then important one mark, if amino acid proline is present in the helical structure. So in the helix, if amino acid proline is present, it produces a kink. Kink means bend or a turn. So it is making a bend in the secondary structure. So this is called helix breaker. Okay. So if amino acid proline is in the secondary structure, helical structure, it kinks the helical structure. So this is called as helix breaker. With this, alpha helix over, and what is the another type of secondary structure? There are two types of secondary structure. One is alpha helix, another one is beta strand. Beta strand is nothing but sheet-like structure. The primary structure of protein will not fold like a helix, so it will expand like a sheet. So this is called beta sheet structure or beta strand structure. Okay, so sheet-like arrangement will be there. So here also hydrogen bonding will be there. So here not between nth and n plus 4th residue, between the adjacent amino acids. Carbonyl oxygen of one strand and amino hydrogen of adjacent strand. So between these strands there will be hydrogen bonding. So this is first strand, one polypeptide chain. This is second strand. So overall this is having what structure? Sheet structure. Okay. So this one polypeptide chain, this is another polypeptide chain. Both are making a sheet-like structure between the strand. What is the interaction? Hydrogen bonding. So hydrogen bonding is formed between the carbonyl oxygen of one amino acid and amino hydrogen of adjacent strand. So between the two strands, there will be hydrogen bonding. So this is called a beta sheet or beta strand. Next, tertiary structure. If a secondary structure is folded in a three-dimensional manner, we get a structure called a tertiary structure. So tertiary structure is nothing but a three-dimensional structure. So due to the folding of secondary, we get a three-dimensional arrangement. We call this as a tertiary structure. See this one. Primary, due to folding, becomes a secondary helical structure. Due to the folding of secondary structure, we get a three-dimensional polypeptide chain. So this is called what? Tertiary structure. Okay. So the tertiary structure has a three-dimensional arrangement. Between the amino acids, we have interactions. Right? Like a secondary structure, in alpha helix as well as beta strand, we have interactions like a hydrogen bonding. So in tertiary structure also interactions will be there. So not only hydrogen bonding, many interactions are possible. What are the interactions? Disulfide bridge. If cysteine is present in the polypeptide chain, if you have amino acid cysteine, so between the cysteine residues, cysteine polypeptide chains, between the cysteine residues or polypeptide chains, there will be disulfide bridge, or it may be electrostatic force of attraction, or it may be hydrophobic interaction, hydrogen bonding, then van der Waals interaction. So all these type of interactions are possible in tertiary structure. Next, quaternary structure means in a protein more than one polypeptide chain is present, we will get one more three-dimensional structure. This is called a quaternary structure. So what about a tertiary? So this three-dimensional structure of only one polypeptide chain is tertiary. Only one type of polypeptide chains are making a three-dimensional structure. This is called a tertiary. If more than one polypeptide chain, you can observe the color changes. One is golden in color, another one is blue in color. So different polypeptide chains are there. Okay. So if a protein has more than one type of polypeptide chain, we get a structure. This is called quaternary structure. Okay. So this structure is called a multimeric structure. So polypeptide chain is making a secondary structure. So primary structure, by folding it forms a helical type of secondary structure. Three-dimensional folding of this secondary will make tertiary structure. Then if more than one polypeptide chain is in the protein, we get multimeric structure called quaternary structure. Okay. So in quaternary structure, there will be a formation of multimeric structure. Examples for proteins with more than one polypeptide chain. Two examples have given in our book. One is hemoglobin, another one is enzyme DNA polymerase, 1 mark. So the oxygen transporter hemoglobin has totally 4 polypeptide chains, porphyrin ring. Okay? 4 polypeptide chains are there. Then the enzyme DNA polymerase is having 10 polypeptide chains. So definitely this will make what structure? Quaternary structure. And the interactions between the amino tertiary. In tertiary, what we have observed? Disulfide bridge, hydrophobic, electrostatic, hydrogen bond, van der Waals. So all same type of interactions are possible in quaternary structure also. So there are 4 structures: primary, secondary, tertiary, and quaternary. This is an important 5-mark question. Next, we move into the denaturation of protein. A 3-mark question. What is denaturation? So as we told already, for a protein, the structure is a 3-dimensional structure. So denaturation means the protein will lose 3-dimensional structure without any change in primary structure. This is called a denaturation. So 3-dimensional arrangement or structure of a protein is lost without any change in primary structure. So this is called denaturation. Any change in primary structure means the same amino acids will join together to be in a polypeptide chain. Just that folding in 3 dimensions will be disturbed. So completely that folding is lost. So it has lost 3-dimensional arrangement. So a protein will lose the 3-dimensional arrangement without any change in the primary structure. So we call the process as denaturation. So how can we do this denaturation? Why there is a denaturation process means by certain factors. So what are the factors responsible for denaturation? Number 1, increase of temperature. When the temperature is increased, the 3-dimensional structure of protein is lost. So due to this denaturation, what is the effect? The biological function of a protein will be disturbed. Right? For each protein is having a biological function. Due to this denaturation process, the biological function is totally changed. So completely it will be lost. So when temperature is increased, when chemicals like urea is added, when pH is changed, based on the strength of ion in the solution, all these are affecting the structure of a protein. So these may lead to denaturation of proteins. Then revival of structure. Once the 3-dimensional structure is lost by a protein, how can we restore it. To restore the three-dimensional structure, we have to maintain the same condition. Before denaturation, what was the condition? What was the temperature, pH? So the same conditions have to be maintained again, then only the structure will be changed again into three-dimensional structure, or else we can add some enzymes. One more question, saffrons. So when we add this enzyme saffron, so this is also one of the proteins. This protein will make other proteins to change the structure into three-dimensional form. Then last topic, what are the applications or importances of proteins? So we know that enzymes are nothing but proteins. So most of the enzymes are used as a biological catalysts in biological reactions in living beings. So these enzymes are the biocatalysts in biological reactions. Next, some proteins are the structural backbones. For the structural arrangement, we need certain proteins like keratin or collagen are the structural backbones. Next, some proteins are acting as transporters. For example, hemoglobin, so oxygen transporter. So kinesins, hemoglobins, these are all the proteins acting as a transporters. Next, some proteins are acting as antibodies, which are fighting against the diseases, microorganisms. Then proteins are acting as messengers. For example, insulin and glucagon, they are the proteins which are controlling glucose level in the blood. So they are acting as the messengers to pass the messages. Then receptors. So since a protein is acting as a receptor, it detects the signals and it responds to signals, it answers the signals. Then certain proteins are used to store the metals like iron. For example, if you take the protein ferritin, it stores the metal iron. So these are the applications of proteins. So we have completed what is protein, what is alpha amino acid, what is the classification of amino acid, properties of amino acids. Then peptide bond formation, polypeptide chain. Next, classification of protein, structure of protein, denaturation of protein. Then finally, importance of protein. So all these concepts are very important to study well. If you have any doubt, you just call me. Thank you.